Hello, friends. Thanks for joining me today. I'm so glad that you took the time to listen. Today's discussion will be focused around E2 visas for accountants. This is an interesting topic because over the years, and as many of you know, I handle many cases involving E2 visas, and one of the most common types of professionals that approach me have been accountants, accountants that exercise the accountancy profession in their home countries and are looking to come to the U.S. and develop a business in that related field of finance and accounting. So generally what I like to inform these prospective clients is that they have some options in terms of strategy. The strategy to obtain the E2 visa as a professional accountant. Let's kind of break down the different types of strategies, and I hope you find these things helpful. And I also want to remind individuals that every case is individual and unique, and we have to assess the particulars of each case. But so this is generally speaking some general strategies that have proven successful over the years for accountants. So let's break down the big strategies here. I would say one would be to buy a franchise in order to obtain an E2 visa. And if it's an accountant seeking an E2 visa, he or she may be interested in purchasing a franchise related to that industry, or that sector in bookkeeping, accounting, in some kind of financial services related to that profession. So the strategy would involve purchasing a franchise and applying for the E2 visa, showing that the purchase of the franchise, so the franchise fee, would constitute the majority of the investment to obtain the E2 visa. And we'll go down and we'll break that down a little bit more, but essentially a big picture is franchise. The other situation is to buy an existing business involved in that sector. So buying another bookkeeping service or another company related to that field, but buying something that's existing. And with that strategy, the individual would have to show a purchase agreement for the business, and those terms should be very detailed and outlined. The biggest issue there would be showing the value of the acquisition. So being able to demonstrate the value of the acquisition would be important focus for that kind of strategy. And the third strategy here would be a startup. This might be maybe the most difficult for an accountant, but it is still possible, and it's something to consider to start up a new business in that field. So let's go back to the franchise. So I've seen this one it's the most common strategy for accountants wanting to obtain an E2 visa. So they will purchase a franchise. I'll take it to the beginning. First, I would say they will form a company. The most typical form in the U.S. is the limited liability company, which in short is the LLC. The LLC will be formed. That's for step one. Once you form the LLC, then you need to set up your corporate accounts and fund the LLC corporate account. And from there, you make the acquisition of the franchise. So you'll need to do your due diligence with which franchise you want to purchase. There are advisors out there that can give you very specific information, comparative analysis of the different franchise opportunities in that space, in that sector. So I would recommend that to you. If you have the need for some recommendations for some consultants in that sector, we can provide those to you. But once you make a determination of which franchise you want to acquire, you will do that through the LLC corporate account. And that will be the bulk of your investment, and that will be supplemented with other expenses, operational expenses, to reach your total at-risk capital investment. Okay, that's the goal. We want to accrue as much capital investment, which would be for assets and or operational expenses. So cap expenditure and operational expenditure can both be used to count towards your at-risk capital investment. Again, I see probably the acquisition of the franchise to be the most common strategy for accountants or other professionals in that industry to launch quickly, to have a system in the U.S. ready to launch quickly. And again, whenever you're purchasing a franchise, the U.S. Embassy or U.S. government is going to be very, I would say, and mostly very flexible and grant you a lot of discretion on that deal because they're seeing that you're making a good faith, acquisition of a franchise there. So that's very popular. Again, now strategy number 2, I would say, is acquiring an existing business. Here, as I said earlier, the focus should be on establishing the value of the acquisition. Recommended strategies to do that would be kind of show the book value, get some expert accountant demonstrating the book value of that business you're acquiring, or maybe negotiating a percentage of earnings and reaching a good faith agreement on the value based on the earnings. Again, you'll probably want to substantiate the formula, the methodology to establish the value of the business you're acquiring. So whatever you pay for that acquisition, that will be at-risk capital, okay? And lastly would be the startup strategy. Here, I think you might run into the most challenges because if you don't have an existing business in the U.S., starting up is going to be a little bit more difficult, especially if you're not licensed in the U.S. However, if your model involves more of a tax preparation model, you could hire some assistants and delegate responsibilities so that you are truly directing and developing the business. It is possible. It requires a lot more legwork on reaching the requirements for the E2 through a startup in the sector of bookkeeping and accountancy. So again, hope you found this useful. E2s for professional accountants. It's a great way to come to the U.S. and expand your market opportunities and obtain this E2 visa. We are here to give you as much information as we can, and anecdotal information and information from the regulations and the statutes to try to increase your chances of success with these things. If you have questions, reach out to Verdin. Happy to serve you. Good day.